Alright then everyone, hello and welcome to the second sprint race in a row here in New Era F1 Esports. We're here for the Portuguese Grand Prix for the second time, maybe the third time in any F1 history. I definitely should have my facts straight, I don't for this race, sadly. We're here for the Portuguese Grand Prix in NEF1, the second sprint in a row and the fourth race of the season rather Portimao circuit, which is incredibly tricky to get right. High undulation circuit, very tricky braking zones, very tricky corners, and there are going to be a lot of spins coming out of turn 4 and turn, I think it's 7 around this track. So keep your eyes out for that. It's going to be an interesting one. And at a track where track limits is oh so difficult, we've got 18 minutes of qualifying in total for what is going to be a nightmarish event for certain drivers. We'll see how everyone gets on. But in 18 minutes, we'll have a starting grid for the sprint race that is to come. 11 laps worth of sprint race action, followed by 33 laps worth of Grand Prix racing action. But Padrang first out on track, then he's followed by Squidge. I believe Spenclose is usually quite quick out on track as well. We'll see if he comes out alongside his teammate. We've got JV8 out on circuit as well. Couple of people not racing today. We've got 16 drivers on the grid here for the Portuguese Grand Prix. And at the moment, this season has been absolutely fantastic for racing action. Not a lot of incidents, not a lot of safety cars, only one in total, 2 virtuals over the course of this season. I have a feeling we're going to get a full safety car here today. At the Portuguese Grand Prix, incidents are likely, especially heading into the sector where we're just going with Padrang at the, or for the time being. Very easy to lose the rear through here and throw yourself into a wall, so we'll see how everything ensues. Let's hope we have the cleanest possible race that we can have, but some brilliant racing action nonetheless. Worth pointing out is that the championship, there is currently a gap of 1 point between championship leader Nasi51 and Matty MC16. Matty has finished second in every single race so far this season. He's hoping to break that streak tonight, but he's hoping to do it one place above where he's finished so far. Nasi had a little bit of an off week last week, and with an off week, I'm saying he finished, I think he was P4 in the end. That's an off week for Nasi in this league. Djokovic took 2 wins last weekend out in Silverstone, took the sprint and the Grand Prix for a points haul of 33 points in total. He is now involved in this championship fight. And oh my goodness, it's shaping up to be a good one. Djokovic, Nasi, Matty MC. Is anyone going to be able to join? Those 3 are going to be able to pull away a little bit this weekend, perhaps, because Danny DC97 is not racing. 1 Ferrari in the lobby today. Then we've got the 2 Williams of Squidge and Spenclose doing incredibly well in both the drivers and constructors standings at the moment. They're looking like legitimate contenders right now. I spoke to both of them before the race, feeling confident heading into this one. They're looking quick on pace as well. If they can keep the momentum going that they've had over the course of this season so far, if they can keep that momentum heading into Portugal, it definitely could be a threat. You can't really tell yet, but Squidge and Spenclose maybe on course for a second Williams Constructor Championship in 3 seasons. We'll wait and see. As Padrang goes fastest, 17.701, which I believe is the exact same time he said in time trial. Squidge goes well faster, 17.194, which is about a second faster than I can do around this place so far. Goes straight up into P1, and that is provisional pole position for the time being. Remember, 14 minutes worth of qualifying action left to go in this session. Spenclose goes second fastest. They beat you now, second fastest, 17.480. We are awaiting laps from those we're expecting to be absolutely fastest here. Squidge at the moment, 17.194. We know Djokovic, Matty and Nasi can go faster than that. We've seen it pre-race in time trial. Now what are they going to be able to do now that it truly comes to it? JV8 and Trifix at the moment, P7 and P8. No Larks in P7, Wigan in P5. So Djokovic then, heading into the last corner, is going to be flat all the way through this. It's a compromise on downforce and straight line speed at this place. He's sticking to the inside, Djokovic, and it's going to be a 16.839 and straight up in P1 for the Swede. Now then, Matty MC is looking like he's having a little bit of a rough time going through Sector 2, but I think it was just a misjudgment of how slowly he was going into that corner. looking relatively quick so far. Nasi's on a quick lap as well, and so is Samo Bamo. He's heading through the final couple of turns. Let's see what he's going to be able to do in the Mercedes. Had a little bit of a tougher weekend last weekend, but points on his debut weekend, incredibly important for the Brit, who comes across the line here to set a 17.837. We're experiencing a little bit of lobby lag at the moment. Hopefully nothing too crucial, but he goes into P8. JV8 comes into the pit lane. Now, where's Matty going to be able to place that Alpha Tauri? Nasi goes quickest out of anyone, 16.789, just a bit quicker than Djokovic, and Matty only P7 for the Brit. Just a little bit behind Padarang and just a little bit ahead of Darren Stahl, but not by much. Now the question is, has Darren been able to get this wheel working again? It certainly looks so by his steering inputs. That does not look like a pad. Darren, please confirm that if you can, but it looks like it's back to the wheel for Darren Stahl, and at the moment, he's outpacing his teammate for the first time this season. Samo Bamo out there once again, but I believe this is a slower lap. iWatts, the only one not to set a time yet, currently down in P16, not yet come out on track. 12 minutes go in this session. Hybrid, currently sitting in P15 on a 129.769, is not a competitive time. He'll have to go again. As we are getting reports that Darren Stahl is now thankfully back on the wheel for this race, which is absolutely brilliant here. Hybrid has gone up into P6 and he is well and truly back. 17.527 for the Brit in that Aston Martin, and just a little bit quicker than his teammate. That is shaping up to be an interesting teammate battle between the two. Hybrid, Padarang, relatively closely matched through this early state of the season, but Hybrid has massively outscored the Brit at the moment, and Hybrid has outscored himself in the first 3 races from what he did for the entirety of last season, which to be fair wasn't so hard because he had an awful season last year. But Hybrid, a massive show of force at the beginning of this season, showing that he is well and truly back. iWatts has now headed out on track as well, currently on an outlap in Sector 2. So let's see how that Alpine gets on. iWatts having a little bit of a tougher start to the season than we would have hoped for, but let's see if he can get this first really good result in here around Portimao. So at the moment, iWatts sitting in P14 in this championship on 2 lonely points, which is not where we want to see him at all, but just needs to get 1 or 2 good results in, he'll fly up the order. It's still very early on, not even a quarter into the season yet. So here we go then with iWatts for a flying lap around the Portimao circuit. And it is looking good so far for the Alpine driver's teammate, currently up in P4 with a really good lap, 17.243, about half a second off provisional pole position. That is a good lap from Nasi Fatiwan. That Djokovic just behind Squidge, not too far behind, but it is quite a big gap up to provisional pole position, about 4/10 of a second that he needs to find, and those 4/10 of a second might not come too easy when we're getting into the low 17s and high 16s. So here we go then, through the last 2 corners with iWatts flat to the line now as it comes through the final bend. Is it going to run out of deployment as well, as I believe you do around this track? I believe so. Yes, he does. And now across the line, goes into P9, ahead of Matty, ahead of Darren Stahl, and ahead of Wigan. Both of the AlphaTauris then taken by iWatts, who moves the second Alpine up into the top 10. And that is just 7 thousandths of a second shy of Padarang 900. Not too far shy away from Spenclose either. A little bit of a gap then up to ABT and Hybrid. And Jamer's a bit further up the road. JV8 then out yet again, heading into turn 1, which is ever so tricky a corner. I tried to do a couple of laps around this circuit before the race started, but my goodness, it was absolutely horrific when you haven't driven in quite a couple of months. Quite a couple of months since the end of last season, really. I haven't done any laps on this game whatsoever, so trying to get into the rhythm of it around this place was, let's say, a challenge. So JV8 then, heading into the second sector, actually weaving a little bit to try to get his tyre temperatures up. On a qualifying lap, probably wouldn't be recommended. Nassi's out there on an outlap. I think that was the driver we just saw pass. No, he's actually starting a flying lap now. So JV8 at the moment, he's not improving on this lap, so actually we'll drop down and come back to it for the time being. Trifex has invalidated his lap, and he's coming into pit lane. What is Wiggins71 doing? Up in P12 at the moment, 17.782, so not had the start of the season that he would have wanted. Still on that left-hand side of the table, crucially for him. Is he going to be able to improve on this lap from a 17.7 to a 17.2? That is straight up in P5. Wiggins71, brilliant lap, that not far off Jamar whatsoever. That is a brilliant effort. As for Padarang 900, the driver itching for points right now. Matty goes up into P4, worth mentioning. Padarang driver itching for points at the moment. Spoke to him as well before the race. Really want to get those points on the board here. He's feeling decent around this circuit, but it is one of them that is going to be ever so tricky to get right. However, more opportunities for points here now that we're back in the sprint format. Kokos Bjarne is in chat, cheering on his pal Darren Style. As Padarang, I think Wiggin reports that he choked on his last lap, that he was up on 5 temps by. Now that'd be a 17 flat, which would see him up in P4. Should be a really good lap. Keep an eye on Padarang for his next run. Sam Obamo's having a little bit of a difficult time at the moment. Not having a bad time though. 17.605, currently just outside the top 10. Spenclose will definitely want to improve on that if he wants to maintain the strong run of form that Williams are currently at the moment, but it is incredibly close, all the way from P4 down into P13, all separated by less than a second. 6 tenths of a second in total, separating P4 to P13. See if Beatty can now break out of that little train. He's just crossing the line now and improves by 83 thousandths of a second. Still not good enough for P6, unfortunately. It remains P7 for ABT. Djokovic has found time, and I missed this entirely. Very sorry about that. Djokovic 16.441, followed by Nassi 16.525. Jesus, guys, calm down. Squidge 16.852. Now it's gonna get increasingly harder for everyone else to find that time to come up behind them. Djokovic at the moment, provisional pole position, and he is on a strong run of form at the moment, winning both races last time out in Silverstone. He'll carry that confidence through into this round, and that is confidence that he sorely needed. Having a very weak start to the season, 14 points after 2 races is not championship material from Djokovic for the first 2 races, but now he's well and truly in it. A couple of points behind the championship leaders, and he is chasing. If he can have a strong result this weekend, he'll be right there as well. Mattia said 1 point behind the championship leader, Nassi 31, who's led from the start of the season so far. So we go hybrids on an outlap as well. Driver on a massive run of form at the moment, scoring points in, I believe, all 3 weekends so far. No Larks right now down in P15 as well. I can tell you he's not going to be happy with that position whatsoever. Let's see what he can do in that Red Bull. Teammate once again back to full strength then, and it is a full strength Red Bull outfit. No Lark's not going to be able to do anything on this lap at least. See if he can go again on this next attempt, because we're running out of time this session. We got 4 minutes remaining. Soon everyone is going to start flying out of the pits like there's no tomorrow. We're already starting to see that trend. Hybrid, Jamar and Darren all on outlaps at the moment. Darren just starting his flying lap, which is going to be worth having a look at. Iwat's coming out of the pit lane now relatively early. 3:42 go. But then we expect this top 4 to come out in about half a minute's time, perhaps. We'll wait and see. It's going to be an interesting end to this qualifying procedure indeed. Darren Stahl then probably has his last go of the session here. down in P13 at the moment, which I believe he can do a little bit better on. Keep in mind, if he improves by just half a second, he's straight up in P5. That is how close it is at the moment. From P13 to P5, it's half a second. Yellow flags, caution in turn 1. I believe that's just someone going a bit slowly. And Darren Stahl is improving at the moment, but he's not improving by enough to make any significant ground up. .243 to go. And people are now starting to come out of the pit lane. We're still awaiting the emergence of the top 4. And I believe they're all going to come out of the pit lane at about the same time. Squidge, Maddie out of the pit lane. Now Djokovic and Nasi. I believe I'm seeing movement down for maybe Nasi 31. As Darren Stahl then did not really improve. Still on a 17.735. Unfortunate for the Red Bull driver. He might have time for one more go at this if he's got the battery and fuel to do so. Here we go then. Jamar on his last run has invalidated. He'll have one more go at it. Wigan 71 on his final run as well. 17.2 is his best time so far. Is he going to be able to improve on that? We'll wait and see. All the top 4 at the moment out on outlaps. Beat remaining in the pit lane. I doubt we're going to see him again this session. So then, here we go. This is going to be a lot to cover. I'm not going to be able to cover everything. Stuff is going to go down incredibly quick at the moment. And we'll know the final finishing order in a little bit. Spenklos is one of the drivers that we'll be watching with an eagle eye here. It's about halfway through the lap. P11 at the moment, not good enough for a driver Spenklos' caliber. He definitely needs to improve. If he improves by half second, it's up in P4. And 2 temps up at the moment. Still quite an improvement. That'd seem about Wigan Iwas territory. About a 17.2, 17.3, which is incredibly good. Middle of the field basically. Currently P11. Now, 1 corner to go. This is the last we're going to see of Spenklos in this qualifying session. Is he going to be able to make this lap count? Has 1 go at it. What is he going to be able to do? It is P4 for Spenklos. Absolutely brilliant performance. And now we are looking at this battle for the top spots. Nasi is out on track. Squidge is out on track. Where's Matty? He is rounding the last couple of corners now. Purple sector 2. Is he going to be able to challenge for provisional pole position here? Djokovic on a 16.441 and out on track. Matty, is he going to be in the hunt for pole position? We'll find out in just a little bit. Is it going to be good enough? No, it isn't, but it's going to be good enough for P3. Matty just a bit shy of what was required. Squidge is about to cross the line as well for P4. Is he improving by enough? Needs to improve by a couple of hundreds to beat Matty out to the line. No, he's not going to be able to. Just over time now. Nasi has gone faster than Djokovic across the line. Djokovic now with a couple of corners to go. Is he going to be able to make that time up? On Nasi 31, 16.291 is the time to beat Djokovic. Needs to improve by a tenth and a half. Is he going to be able to do it? The answer is no, he's not. He gets incredibly close, but not close enough. Djokovic finishes this session in P2. Nasi takes his 3rd pole position of the season. Spenklos finishes down in P6. It is Matty, Squidge, Jamar, Spenklos. Wigan 71 comes into the pit lane in P7 with Iwatts in P8. Sam Obama in P9 followed by a Beat in P10. Wasn't able to get a lap in at the end. Hybrid in P11 followed by Padarang, who's just now finishing, goes up into P12. Knocks JV8 down to P13 with no Larks, Darren Stahl and Trifix 14th, 15th and 16th. And what an end to the session that was indeed. Nasi with a lap a little bit out of nowhere there to cut Djokovic off right at the very end of the session. Padarang not happy with his performance whatsoever in that session seemingly. He'll have to improve over the course of the race if he wants to score those maiden points. Currently in P11 with his teammate just behind him in P12. But there then is your qualifying order, and look at that top two. It is absolutely clear of the rest of the field. Nasi and Djokovic half a second clear of Matti, Squidge and Jamar. After that, it is incredibly close. So count out those top two. Let's just ignore them because obviously they're in a field of their own at the moment. The rest of the field, if we're taking in the ones who got really competitive laps in, separated by less than a second. Trifix, the one outlier in P16 with 118.708. But then, so, whilst we're waiting for everyone to get ready, we're going to be taking our traditional break here in NEF1, just out of the sprint and race. We are going to be with you in a couple of minutes for full coverage of the race here in Portugal. We got 11 laps worth of sprint race action to come, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with you after this quick break. So then, everyone, we are back here. We're going to be getting going in a couple of minutes worth of time. Before we actually get going, I want to bring you back to last week's result and how our beloved driver's standings is looking for the time being. So we'll just see if we can get those up on screen as we should. There we go. Nasi 31 then leads on 62 points by Matti 61. Then Djokovic is right behind on 45. Danny not racing today on 36. Squidge and Spenclose not far behind on 33 and 22. And then the gaps start to form just that little bit. A majority of the field now with points on the board. Still waiting for the first points of Darstyle, Padrang, Trifix, Little Drips and JV8. But I'm sure it is soon to come. Manasi Van in a lead at the championship, but everything but comfortable, taking a massive hit last week out. As for the team's championship, Ferrari have the lead of the standings for the first time since the end of Season 1, when they actually clinched the championship. So Ferrari back on top, 181 points over McLaren's 76 points. Then we got AlphaTauri on 71, followed by Williams on a championship hunt with 55. Then a massive drop down to Alpine and Aston Martin tied on 17. Then we got Mercedes on 14, Red Bull on 10, Alfa Romeo on a sole point for the fastest lap. That was OJ Kush's last week, and Haas still on 0. But then I can confirm that already a pass being given. We are good to go in just a couple of moments' time. So then, an 11-lap race to the checkered flag. No mandatory pit stops. No points for fastest lap. It's just a straight shootout with the top 8 score points. 8 points for P1, 1 point down to P8. So, just a flip-flop of what it would be otherwise. And then obviously for the Grand Prix, the fastest lap point is in effect, and everyone from P1 to P10 scores points from 25 down to 1. But that is all standard to the viewers of this league if you've been with us for a little while. Now then, interesting sprint race action coming up at a track which was, let's call it protested at the beginning of the day. A couple of people really not enjoying the circuit. But for the time being, I must say it's worked out incredibly well. Now then, let's look at something that's going to be quite fascinating this race, because I do think it's going to play a part. Actually, it's not. Everyone's starting on soft tires. I thought it would be an outlier or two starting on the mediums, hoping for that tire to come into its own at the end of the race, but no, everyone doing the exact same thing, starting on the softs. Expect these two guys, if they don't come together, to take off here at the beginning of the race. Nasi, his setup should really suit this track, as long as he gets away cleanly and doesn't need to start tangle with Djokovic. Djokovic's car, usually quite a bit faster in a straight line than that McLaren. If Nasi can just take off, create that 1 second gap, I think he's going to be able to stay ahead. He is going to struggle if he allows Djokovic within that 1 second and with the DRS down that long main straight. That is the case, Nasi's going to struggle here. He needs to get away quickly. Djokovic is going to be hunting him down. Matti has struggled this season with his starts, really. Let's see if he can get a better one here today. Maybe make up a little ground on Djokovic and Nasi. Who knows? Maybe even lead into the fast corner. It's a long run down into turn 1 and 2. Also, quite a big overtaking zone into turn 5, which is a sharp left-handed hairpin after the little back straight. We'll get onto that quite quickly. Squidge 2017 also in good position. He is going to be slipstreaming Nasi, Djokovic and Matti down that entire straight. So is Jamer and Spenclose. I do not envy the work of, for example, Wigan, Iwatts and Samo here. They're going to be very much in the middle of the pack, in a place where it is incredibly hard to stay out of trouble. And in a corner, in a first turn, that goes by so incredibly quick, they're going to have to mind their own business in this one. So is ABT. It's going to be a tricky start, this. As there we go, we're lining up on a track where we realistically could line up 7 cars on a row here. But 2 in a row, we got 16 drivers on the grid as we're about to start this Portuguese sprint race. The 5 red lights are coming on, and we're getting ready for the Portuguese sprint. Here we go then. It is 5 red lights. And it's lights on, away we go. Nasi gets away well, so does Djokovic. But Nasi just getting a well better getaway. Djokovic is second into turn 2, undisputed. Matti is coming together with Spenclose there. Is anything going to go on? Yes, Spenclose and Squidge down 2 positions straight off with ABT as well. We know this was going to happen. Contact in turn 1. Matti involved in that somehow, with both the Williams maybe collecting each other, and ABT as consequent as well. Nasi leads from Djokovic and Matti. Jamar making up a couple of positions. A good gainer here. Darren Stahl up 7 positions just in that start. He's up into the points in P8. But for the time being, Nasi, Djokovic and Matti's your top 3. So here we go then. Matti sticking with this pack relatively well for the time being. Jamar as well. Now, 3 laps to go until we enable DRS, or 2 laps to go until we enable DRS, really. Sam Obama's made a decent start, up into P6 at the moment. And also for the guys at the back, are they going to be able to catch up with the back of that train? Got Triffitt and JV8 currently up in P10 and P11. That's going to be the target, I reckon, for Spenclose, Snowlock, Squidge and a BT here. See if they can get inside that top 10 and get themselves in a decent position for the race that is to come. Jamar now, very much on the back of Matti and Djokovic, on the back of Nasi, but doesn't seem like there's an inherent straight line speed advantage on that Ferrari. Matti though now is losing touch of the leaders. That is going to give Jamar an opening, maybe to sneak into the podium. As Trifix, ABT and Darren all pit at the end of lap 1. That is an unfortunate start to the race for them. The first real contact we've had at the first lap this entire season. that's of any note, really. Now I was in JV8, scrambling for position as well. JV8 down 2 positions there, down to P13. Jamar just chasing Matty around the circuit at the moment, just trying to get past for P3. He's about 3/10 of a second behind, so this could prove to be an interesting one. Looking further down, Spenklos actually already making good progress, up to P9 for the time being, chasing down Hybrid. Hybrid, though, with a big gap up to his teammate Padrang, currently sitting in P7, scoring 2 points for Aston Martin. It's a good thing, because Hybrid might soon be losing his. DRS is enabled on this lap then, and Spenklos, is he going to be able to use some on Hybrid? No, but I don't think it is going to be needed. Spenklos with a good run on Hybrid, round the outside into the fast corner, and is he going to have that done by the braking zone? Yes, he is. Hybrid has to pull out. Spenklos up in a P8. Jamar now down the back straight on Matty with some DRS in hand, but can't make anything of that. Samo down inside of Wigan, not able to make that work. Wigan remains in P5. Squidge and Hybrid, I believe, have made some sort of contact. Maybe or Hybrid has lost the back end, if nothing else. And that is Hybrid down a couple of positions. Now Iwat's having to go into the pit lane down to P15. He's going to emerge behind the McLaren as well. Iwat's down in last at the moment. It's a chaotic race for the time being. Lap 3 out of 11 here at the Portuguese Sprint. Djokovic now really pushing Nassi around this circuit. Oh, it's going to be an interesting one, this. 4/10 separating the two. Now, DRS has been enabled on last lap, but Djokovic, he is gaining on the McLaren. He's pulling to the inside. Not where we want to be heading into the first corner, but he's going to have that move done before the braking zone. Djokovic is the new leader of this race. Thought to be his 3rd checkered flag in a row, if he can make this stick, but still a lot of racing action left to go. Nassi in P2 then, followed by Jamar, is actually gone past Matty as well then. Matty now, is he under pressure from his teammate? Not really, but this could work in their advantage, because this could help Wigan hold off Samo quite a bit. Remember, no massive points gains really on offer by overtaking just one car. 1 point. That is quite a bit for drivers like Padrang and Samo at the moment. Matty has to think about the long game here. He's got his championship rivals ahead of him. They're outscoring him at the moment by 2 and 3 points, which is not a lot. Matty can't really afford a mistake here. If anything, he can afford to lose yet another position, because the loss isn't that massive. What he can afford is to drop out of points entirely. He needs to pick his battles here, because he's already got to start thinking about that championship fight. It is not a long way into the season yet, but these guys, Djokovic and Nassi, are so incredibly fast that you've already got to start thinking about the championship if you want to be able to play for it in the end of the season. Matty close to Jamar there, not quite close enough, but he's going to have another opportunity coming out of turn 4. It's so hard to follow through this corner though. With the aid of some DRS, but he's not going to be able to get anywhere near as far by Jamar into the braking zone. Wigan is looking comfortable ahead of Samo Obama at the moment. Padrang at the moment in P7 is catching that pack by a handy amount every lap. Let's see if he can make anything of it. No Larks is currently up in P9 at the moment. His teammate's not having a brilliant race down in P12, with a time penalty as well, mind you. But No Larks going strong this season. He is round the back of Spenklos. Obviously had that contact at the beginning of the race, which quite ruined his sprint. Let's hope it doesn't ruin his Grand Prix as well. We'll be in a compromised position for the start nonetheless. So then, No Lars then, P9, following Spenklos in P8. Padrang is now actually losing a little bit of time to Samo Bamo. So we'll see how that all ensues. Wigan 71 is following Matty MC, as followed by Jamar, Nassi and Djokovic. Djokovic's looking comfortable in the lead of this race ever since he took it away on lap 4. Nasi maintaining DRS, but he's not really quick enough in a straight line to do anything with it for the time being. Not really an easy track to overtake at this. Matt is getting increasingly closer to as followed by Jamar, but not quite close enough to mount an offensive yet. He's keeping Jamar honest though. A single mistake around this place could spell absolute disaster. As that is the mistake that we were absolutely not praying for. We got a safety car. We got the second safety car of the season because Wigan is out of this race. The mistake came on lap 7 here. Lap 6, sorry. Oh, Wigan is now going to be starting the Grand Prix in last. Absolute heartbreak then for Wigan. Absolute heartbreak for Squidge 2017 as he gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car, which is going to relegate him surely into last place. But this is going to be interesting now. Djokovic in a compromised position. Is he going to pit? Is he going to stay out? He's going to stay out. Nasi, what's he going to be able to do? And who realistically has a chance to pit? JV8 does, because he's has a big gap behind him. Now, he's going to be able to pit for a new set of tyres without losing a single position here. That could genuinely be quite beneficial. We're on lap 6 out of the sprint. The question is, does he have any new softs on? Is the question. But JV8, the only one realistically who could get away with doing something like that, and he is going to do something like that. Smart move there from JV8. Hybrid obviously could do something like that. iWatts realistically nothing to lose as well. Crucial thing for JV8 now is he gets a new set of softs on. Start making progress here, and he will. Question is he going to lose one position perhaps to Darren Stahl? It's going to be tied on the pit exit. Oh, it's going to be a race on the pit exit. Darren just nibs that position of him. Oh, that is heartbreaking for JV8. But new set of softs on could genuinely carry him into the points if he gets a good restart. There is going to be quite a big tie deficit, I do reckon. Djokovic, is this safety car restart the best or the worst thing that could have happened to his race? DRS will be disabled for 2 laps when the safety car comes in, which is going to help his race out quite a little bit, because we've already seen slipstream enough is not good enough, or slipstream alone isn't good enough to get you past at the moment. It's an interesting position, this couple of laps behind the safety car. Then I would imagine we're restarting next lap. See how many people can catch back up to the safety car before we go green. And obviously this is good for JV8 as well, because the more Darren Stahl needs to take life out of his tires hunting down the safety car, the easier it is going to be for him to catch up. Catch up and overtake. JV8 just a couple of places behind the points, and stuff can still happen. Usually when we have a safety car at the end of the race like this, there is a couple of silly moves being tried, just trying to gain those positions at the very end. So then, nearing the end of lap... Is it lap 8 this? Yes it is. Nearing the end of lap 8 this. If we go green, we'll have 3 laps worth of racing action. Lap 9, lap 10, lap 11. Yes, we would. 3 laps worth of racing action maybe to go here then. Still waiting for confirmation the safety car is going to come in this lap. Which is going to be a late call if nothing else. Won't allow Djokovic to do very much. Surely can't be this late a call. I believe the safety car is staying out for another lap. Okay, everyone line it up behind the safety car. We're going green on lap 9. 2 laps. 2 laps of a 2 laps of a shootout for the win of the sprint. So then we have Djokovic, Nasi, Jamar and Matti. Sama Obama in P5 having a good race here. Padarang with it all to lose at the moment in P6, scoring his first 3 points of the season. That is points that is going to come oh so desperately for him. He can hold on now, but he has no Larks and Spen close behind him. They're going to be hungry for points. So is Squidge. Darren Stahl with a time penalty as well. Squidge, if I'm not mistaken, has a drive-through allowed to have at the end of that race. He will be starting this Grand Prix in plumb last, unfortunately for him. JVA, Trifix, Hybrid, BT and iWatts at the back of the field, but the safety car will come in at the end of this lap. 2 laps worth of racing action to the flag. Djokovic is going to be delighted with this, because this means no DRS will be enabled for the rest of this race. He now has to fend off Nasi and Jamar to the flag. Tricky part for Djokovic is waiting until the safety car is into the pit lane before he can get this race restarted. Won't have much of a margin to play around with. Safety car is now into the pits. When is Djokovic going to decide to go? He's leaving this rather late. There he goes. He gets a bit of a jump on Nasi. Jamar follows Nasi rather well, and we're back underway here. Jamar gets a good run. Sorry, Matti gets a good run on Jamar. Is he going to be able to try anything into turn 1? No, he's not. Order remains as is. Matti, Samabama, Padarang, Nolak, Spenklos, Djokovic in the lead of the race. Having a couple of... we're having a little bit of action at the back. JV8 and Trifix, I think, are tangling with each other. They are out of contention for any major positions here in the sprint, unless anything absolutely mental happens. Djokovic then maintaining a healthy lead up front. Nasi 4 attempts behind. Jamar trying to chase down Nasi now, trying to make anything of this race. What is JV8 on those softs doing? Oh, completely forgot that actually. Down in P14, tangling with Trifix in turn 1. That sounded like a burn. I promise you it wasn't. Shame that, because I would have loved to see what he was able to do on that brand new soft. Anyways, moving on then. Padarang maintaining P6, Samo Balmo in P5. Nothing really happening inside that top 8 at the moment. Squidge will have to have that penalty this lap, I believe, or will be facing disqualification, unfortunately for him. That penalty is going to be an absolute race ruiner, and it could ruin his Grand Prix as well. Only good thing is he's going to be starting in last, which means he will be able to avoid any entanglements at the front. Last lap of the sprint race then. Djokovic, Nasi, Jamar, Matti, Samo is the order. Padarang just behind them. No Larks running, chasing P7. Squidge then moves down a couple of positions. He's going to be going into the pit lane on this lap. Serve that drive-through penalty, which is going to ruin any chances of points here for him. Spenklos up in the points. I was incredibly close to it, but just a bit too far back to make anything work. Samo just getting turn 3 a little bit wrong. Padarang is now invited to that conversation. Is he going to be able to make anything work? No, he's not. He's a bit too far back. And I believe without DRS, it is a bit too hard to overtake around this circuit, where it is quite hard to follow even in these modern new Formula 1 cars. ABT and I was doing a little battling for P9 at the moment. Doesn't yield any points, but could be ever so crucial for the Grand Prix. So I believe we're getting a little bit of lag from Samo Obama as well. Padarang is going to struggle to follow him and actually have an idea of where he is on track. But then, Djokovic usually handles these things beautifully, and he does. Keeping his composure for the safety car restart, and now it's looking like he could carry this momentum all the way through into the win. The 3rd consecutive win for Scuderia Ferrari, for the reigning champion, and he closes in on the championship leader by 1 single point. but it's something. Djokovic takes the flag here for the Portuguese sprint with Nassi in P2. Sorry, Jamar takes his first podium of the season in P3. Matti takes a P4. He was involved in that battle early on for in turn 1 on the first lap, which will be investigated after the race, I'm sure. Sam Obama in P5. Padarang with his fast points of the season, 3 points for P6. With No Larks in P7, taking 2 points and Spen Close. Does manage to rip a point away from a BT and Iowat in P8, managing to make the most of that poor start that he had. Spen Close with a consolatory point for Williams. So there we go, then. There is your top 14 for the time being for the sprint race. Djokovic taking top honors there by half second of Anasi Fatiwan, and Jamar with his first really good result of this season. Looking a bit further down, we have Squidge in P15. Obviously, it's going to be starting on the last row of the grid, following Wigan. Followed by Wigan, in P16 after the unfortunate DNF. But then we will soon be moving in to the Grand Prix phase of this weekend. That is where everything is going to get so important. Worth noting, Sam Obama up from P9 into P5. That's a good recovery from the Mercedes. But then we'll be going to a couple of minutes worth of break yet again before we bring you the full 33 laps worth of racing action around this Portuguese Grand Prix. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back in a couple of minutes time for a very nice and sunny day here around Portimao. So then everyone, we are back with full coverage of the Portuguese Grand Prix. The ready up by the admins have been given. We'll be getting going in a couple of moments time. 33 laps worth of racing action for this Portuguese Grand Prix, which is looking quite good, judging how the sprint race went. So then here we go, lining it up on the grid then. I'm getting no game volume whatsoever, that's just because my headset's turned down. Incredibly clever from me. Djokovic then, starting on the mediums, followed by Nasi on the mediums, and Jamar on the mediums, followed by Matti on the mediums, and Samo on the softs. Nice to see someone doing a bit different. Samo, hats off. Padarang on the mediums, followed by No Larks, we can't really see. Spenclose on the mediums, BT's on the mediums, with Iwalt on the mediums. Then we got Hybrid on the mediums, followed by Trifix on the mediums, and Style on the mediums. JVH on the mediums, Squidge on the mediums, and Wigan on the hards. So two drivers doing something a bit different with softs and hards. Everyone else on a medium tire, which is probably the sensible option, seeing how everyone selected to go for it. Do the outliers have anything to be worried about? Maybe. Some Obama Wigan will follow their progress throughout this race. Now, previously established for the sprint race then, it is easy to crash out here, it's easy to have an incident into turn 1, it happens several times, and there are walls surrounding the track that can take you out of the race, as Wigan heartbrokenly learnt for the sprint. Now then, see if everyone gets their act together for this 33 lap race that we've got coming up. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be a quick race, this. Only just about over a minute's worth of lap time here. About a 120 we're probably looking for the race. So it is going to be a rather quick race, especially if we don't have any safety cars or virtual safety cars. I think we're going to have a safety car or two. So then, we got two cars already lined up on the grid there. There's Padarang and No Larks. I believe they came together during the formation lap. We'll have a look at that if anyone chooses to submit any footage. Can be a disciplinary action that. A minus lap on the race penalty. We'll see. Djokovic then is going to line up in P1. He's got the outside line heading into turn 1. That is the line you want to be on. Through the outside into turn 1, 2 and 3. Got the inside for turn 4 and the run up the hill down to turn 5. Or up into turn 5 should be said. Everyone then is lined up on the grid. We've got the Portuguese Grand Prix coming up in just a couple of moments. JV8 somehow taking the lead of the Grand Prix according to the standings. That is incorrect. Djokovic is still on pole position here. He's followed by Nasi on that left-hand side of your screen. Behind them is Jamar, Matti, Samo, Padarang. They'll be charging like bulls heading into turn 1. The Portuguese Grand Prix is coming right up. We've got one driver seemingly with connection issues. We'll wait and see if that sorts itself out. It has done previously. Worst case scenario, might need to leave the session. Yes, indeed. Now, here we go then. It is 5 red lights. And it is lights on, away we go. Iwats with the first drive-through penalty for a jump start this season. Didn't make the most of that jump start though. Gained just a couple of didn't gain a single position. That is not necessary penalty to get. Nasi takes the lead into the fast corner from Djokovic. Jamar stays in P3 with Samo, taking a position away from Matti. Spenclose up 2 positions straight in the start. Now Wigan up quite a couple of positions on the start as well. Iwats making the worst out of that jump start. He's down 6 positions already, down to P16 and losing yet more time. Djokovic round the outside of Nasi into turn 5. Not going to work, but he's going to have another opportunity maybe into turn 7 and turn 8, which is sharp right-hander following the sweeping right-hander. No, but Djokovic is looking aggressive here. He's right on the back of Nasi 31 on lap 1 here. He was able to get this move done in the sprint race. Remember that. Now, different tire compounds, different weight in the cars. Now, is Nassi going to be able to deliver on the promise that he's shown in the beginning of the season, or is Djokovic going to challenge him and really establish himself as a championship contender? Matti at the moment down in P5 as well. Keep in mind that is the guy now 4 points behind Nassi in the lead of the driver standings. Oh, as track limit violations every here and there from both Nassi and Djokovic. Gonna be on at least one warning after this first lap of the Grand Prix. Hybrid up into the top 10. Past Trifix. Djokovic getting closer. They're leaving Jamar behind. A second already, down to P3. Samo is chasing, as followed by Jamar as well. We'll have DRS in 1 lap. Matti, 1/10 behind Spenklos and pushing. Yellow flags in Sector 1. That is at the end of Turn 1. I believe it's Darren Style who's had an issue. Matti not going to be able to make anything work on Spenklos for P5. He's got no Larks right behind him though in that sister Red Bull P7, but likes to just stay behind for the time being. No Larks going to have to play the long game here. Now Samo Bamo on the back of Jamar, not quite close enough to start thinking about a move as of yet. With this battle then, half a second separating the leaders, Nassi and Djokovic. And is this going to be the Titanic battle that we're going to be looking at this entire season? Matti, he's been constantly there. He's in the lead, or is in P2 in the championship, but he's never really been able to take the fight to Nassi, apart from Qatar under special circumstances, of course. But he's not taking the fight to Nassi, as is the way that Djokovic is currently doing. He is taking the fight straight to the defending championship leader. Now then, with DRS for the first time this race, is Djokovic gonna start closing the gap a little bit? He has the cheeky look down inside, but elects better of it, or thinks better of it. Likes to stay behind for the time being. Not quite making a move as of yet. Padarang currently up in P7, scoring a couple of points for Aston Martin. Best Samo losing out a couple of positions. They're gonna go too wide into turn 6 and turn 7. Samo is gonna force his way into the inside of Padarang. Yes, but Padarang has the better run him. Oh, it's gonna go too wide into turn 10 as well. Is that gonna work? I believe it's Samo's corner. Padarang just has to concede that position. Good racing between the two. That is one of the overtakes of the season so far. Samo Bama, now Padarang down the inside. He's going to be able to make that work on the mediums. And this is where the soft tires of Samo really pay dividends, because he's able to just out-grip the Aston Martin of Padarang. But there's a little train forming behind them, followed by a BT Hybrid and Squidge, who I'm sure are not enjoying this battling at all at the moment. Bad exit that from Samo. Now everyone's going to be straight on him. Padarang goes straight past him. ABT goes straight past him. They almost make contact in a straight. ABT coming out victorious of that. Samo actually losing out quite a bit because of that. And we got a safety car. I'm not quite sure as of why. Djokovic, sorry, has been able to get past the race leader of Nassi. Completely missed that whilst the action was going on there with Padarang, BT and Samo. Safety car is out. Djokovic is leading this race by a second over Nassi. We've got a full safety car here on lap 4. Oh, what was that for, is my thinking. I wasn't going to whine about that one bit. Currently 14 seconds behind anyone else. Obviously have to serve that drive-through penalty earlier. But what was that safety car for? If anyone actually knows that, please let me know. Curious. So the safety car is out. It's waiting at the end of the first sector. As Christina the Gamers in chat cheering on Matti MC as usually is. Absolutely brilliant Sea Devotion. Matty, however, not having the best of races so far, currently in P5 behind Spenklos, which is not going to be overly happy with. And currently needs to get a move on if he wants to defend that P2 in the championship, because Djokovic is right there alongside. So then no Larks in P6, followed by Pattering and Hybrid P7 and P8. So good result at the moment for Aston Martin. Squidge in P9, Wigan in P10. Actually a decent recovery from the AlphaTauri driver at the moment. JV8 and Terrifics just on the fringes of the points. P11 and P12, followed by Turnstile, A, BTI, Watson, Samo had an issue on the straight actually. I wonder if a loss of front wing maybe for Samo due to contact on that straight caused that safety car. So the safety car is staying out just that bit longer. Djokovic in the lead of this race then once again was able to take the sprint race win. Is it going to be able to make it 2 in a row here for Grand Prix wins as well? Be a very impressive record. He was able to take every single point away from the last 2 weekends. But Djokovic, we know this, he is a master of sprint races. He showed that earlier on last season. I think winning a total, I think he won every one bar one. So Djokovic really does enjoy this sprint format. And this season there are quite a lot of them. Now we're going into break, 2 races then without a sprint before they make their return, I believe, in round 7. Don't quote me on that, but if I'm not mistaken, that is the way it is. We'll have a look at the calendar a bit later on, because there is quite a couple of interesting ones coming up. Do want to give a shout out to No Larks for the start of the season that he's had. Currently up in P6 as well. So the driver is taking quite a big step up over the course of the end of last season and the beginning of this one. So good performance from No Larks at the moment. So let's see if he can start challenging the top guys. Matty, Spenklos, Jamar maybe. I think Djokovic and Nasi at the moment in a league of their own. Safety cars in this lap. Djokovic will handle the restart. The question is he going to back the pack up a little bit more than he did on the last occasion? Didn't give himself too many options of when to start the race, and Nasi now has first-hand experience of restarting the race behind Djokovic. Djokovic is going to go a bit slower, but not too slow indeed. So let's see when he likes to restart this race. Just weaving a little bit, trying to get temperature into the tyres. There we go, but it doesn't really shake Nasi. Stays well within the slipstream. Is he going to be able to have a move into turn 1 perhaps? He is getting closer, he is getting closer. He's going to be thinking about it, but nowhere near close enough in a corner that doesn't really have a braking zone. Djokovic leads from Nasi, Jamar and Spenklos. Matty in P5 still with No Larks in P6. Nothing really going on the safety car restart then. It's a bit of a calmer track for restart than you'd expect from other tracks. So then every single car basically out on track just going to that inside line, heading into turn 5, just looking for an opportunity to maybe snatch a position away from someone locking up a brake or braking a little bit too early or too late. Spenklos really close behind, as followed by Jamar now, who's not really... Nasi's not really losing the trail of Jamar. However, he's losing the trail of Djokovic. Curious, Djokovic at the moment having a good restart, pulling away here. The gap's almost a second already at the end of lap 7. So this could be quite an interesting stage at the Grand Prix now. If Djokovic's able to pull away, let's see if he can stay away. 8.6 tenths is the gap, 9 tenths now. Oh, Noel Larks is catching Matty in quite rapidly as well. He's going to be able to have a run into turn 1 perhaps, but straight line speed of Matty might prove a little bit too much in the end. Yes, it does. Noel Larks with a good run inaugurally, but Matty just proved strong at the second stage of that straight. Spenclose is having a go at Jamar as well, but that go at the moment coming of nothing. Djokovic is doing everything he can to shake the tail of NEF1. Quite an intriguing battle this at the moment. No Larks, Matty, Spenclose, all on the back of Jamar, forming a little bit of a train. Padarang technically involved in that, not quite a second back on No Larks yet, but that gap is approaching. It is now a bit over a second, but that closes and opens every single corner, obviously. Hybrid's just behind his teammate. The question is for the Aston Martins, is now the time to swap those two around? Maybe unleash Hybrid, see if they can catch the front of the train ahead of him. Maybe Hybrid can make work of this on his own. Spenclose is going to pass us by Jamar heading into turn 1. Now it's huge for the race. If Spenclose can get closer to Nasi and Djokovic. Spenclose never really getting a chance to show what he could do under race pace after the incident in turn 1 in the sprint. No Larks down inside of Matty heading into turn 5. Matty leaves him ample of room there. No Larks just getting a little bit twitchy on the exit of turn 5 and manages to make nothing off that move. Matty almost left the door a bit too wide open for him, but No Larks unable to capitalize. But he is so close to the AlphaTauri. He is so incredibly close to the back of that Alpha. He thinks about it into the right-hander. Right now, Spenclose is closing the gap on leaders and by quite a margin per lap. Let's see if Spenclose can actually get involved in this battle as well. He's closing that gap rapidly right now and he's losing Jamar quickly. Here we go then, Nasi on Djokovic. Are we going to have a new leader once again in this Grand Prix? Yes, we are. Nasi takes the lead away from Djokovic on lap 10 out of 33 here. Relatively comfortable fashion. Spenclose would have loved for those two to fight a little bit. Djokovic gets a free second time penalty for multiple track limits infractions. As No Larks has been able to get past Matty MC, who at the moment looks to be breaking his streak of P2 finishes, but it's not going to be with the result he was aiming for. Matty needing to get a move on here if he wants to make anything of this weekend. Nasi and Djokovic running away with this one. Spenclose is not letting them go. Matty on the back of No Larks now. With the ADAS on DRS, Djokovic is losing quite a bit of time on Nasi. And this is dangerous. If he falls out of DRS, Matty just flying past the back of No Larks there. Absolutely nothing he can do about it. If No Larks... Oh, sorry. If Nasi's able to shake Djokovic's DRS off, Djokovic might be risking to lose track of that McLaren a little bit. Crucial for Djokovic to now hold on to that less than a second gap before we get to the main straight. That is crucial for this race. Squidge has gone past Padarang 900, so his hybrid from previously. Padarang actually ran the outside of Squidge, perhaps heading into turn 6 and turn 7, but not going to work. 7 and 8, sorry. Say beat is gone past Wigan. Crucially for Djokovic, managing to stay within that 1 second gap. Now DRS is open, he's going to be able to close that gap a little bit, not going to be able to make a move. But he closes that gap a lot actually. Nasty by the look of things, doing everything he can to just stay clear of the Ferrari. Uncertain at the moment who of those two has the pace advantage. Matty seemingly having the pace advantage of a no-locks now that it's going to back pass, and he's actually breaking away from the Red Bull a little bit. Red Bull might soon start having a couple of issues with Hybrid. Not be careful. Squidge is down inside of Hybrid though, and Hybrid's not careful because he's almost lost the entire car. Is he going to be able to stay within the points? No, he's not. Samo takes that P10 away. Hybrid's now going to be in recovery mode. Such a little mistake, costing so much. Squidge now in P7, a BT up in P8, Padarang down in P9, Samo in P10. And that is the tough break for Hybrid. Djokovic now catching up to the back of Nasi. Through the last corner, and now Djokovic might be in striking distance of Nasi 31 here. DRS has been enabled. Let's see, Djokovic, he is eating that gap up, pulls to the inside, and once again the lead changes hand on lap 13 out of 33. 20 laps to go. Djokovic takes the lead at the Portuguese Grand Prix once again, away from Nasi 31. Both led the race on two different occasions now. Padarang's now had an issue actually, down in P11. Oh, that's a bit curious. Wigan actually making a move on Padarang there, look of things. Really working out, but pulled to the inside, looking a bit aggressive. As for Squidge 2017, currently in P7, making a decent recovery drive at the moment. Now he's on the back of No Larks. On the Red Bull, No Larks crucially now outside of that 1 second gap on Matty MC without DRS. Spenclose now, his charge on the leaders has faltered a little bit. 2.2 seconds is the gap. The leaders are running away with this one. Now No Larks, is he going to have DRS on Matty? I don't think so. Squidge, ample opportunity here to get past the Red Bull. DRS is wide open, the gap is closing, the gap is done. Squidge takes P6 away from No Larks turn lap 14 out of 33. That's a good move heading into turn 1. Just covers No Larks off perfectly heading into turn 1. Nothing he could do about that. A BT now involved in that little conversation as well. Iwatts is taking JV8 for P12. So let's see, even No Larks had no luck clearing Matty MC. Let's see if Squidge can do a better job of it. Djokovic at the moment trying to stay clear of Nasi, but he's not doing a brilliant job at the moment. 8/10 of a second is a gap. Nasi seemingly a bit quicker in this bad sector. Problem for one of the Red Bulls, that's Darren Style, who's on his first weekend back on the wheel, is struggling a little bit, currently down to P14. Got P6, we have Squidge half a second now behind Matty MC, and could we perhaps see a move heading into turn 1? He's far back, but that gap is going to close. Is this going to go down to the braking zone? Perhaps no. Squidge just thinks better of it. Oh, but that is a perfectly executed turn 1. Is it going to be going into turn 3? No. Oh, and then loses the back end just a little bit coming out of turn 4 and turn 3 and turn 4. Sorry. That is going to compromise his run into turn 5. Unfortunate that for Squidge. So Padarang at the moment, 7 attempts behind Wigan. Matty comes into pit, the first one to do so from P7, trying to get a little bit of an undercut on everyone ahead of him. Lap 16 out of 33, about halfway through this Grand Prix. Not quite yet, but rather soon. Djokovic now has been joined once again by Nasi31, and I believe this might be one of those battles that just go on race long. The question is, who gets to the finish line ahead? Could be close. And I'm sure Djokovic wouldn't mind a bit of wheel-to-wheel racing right now with Nasi. Hopefully to pressure Nasi into a mistake, or maybe to give him a 3-second time penalty to match Djokovic's. Nasi's driving with the knowledge at the moment that if he matches Djokovic's pace and don't get a penalty, he will win this Grand Prix. Still a long ways to go, but Nasi at the moment doesn't need to overtake Djokovic. However, he will overtake Djokovic here on lap 17 out of 33. Djokovic realised there's no point in defending that one. Nasi takes the lead at the Grand Prix. Now then, the question, who pulls the trigger first? If I was Djokovic, I probably would have pulled the trigger on that last lap, trying to break away a little bit from Nasi. Didn't elect to do so. Now the question is, now does Nasi have the upper hand in pulling the trigger on his pit stop, not allowing Djokovic to undercut him whatsoever? Maybe see if an overcut works. Padarang gets very close to the back of Wigan there. Just manages to avoid him. Gets a better run out of turn 5. Heading into 7 and 8 then. And they look absolutely gorgeous, these cars, as they launch themselves over the hill. See, Nasi's just on to shake Djokovic a little now. Let's see if he pulls into the pit lane here on lap 17. No, he does not. Does Djokovic? No, he does not. Both electing to stay out here. Nasi almost going into pits. Maybe sold Djokovic a little bit for a dummy. Djokovic thinking whatever Nasi does, I'll do the opposite, and then not quite having enough time to react. I don't know. Svenklos then is coming into the pit lane now. This is going to be interesting to see where he comes out in comparison to Matty MC. Is the overcut or the undercut the strongest? Was a little bit of a gap between them both, obviously, beforehand, but I believe the undercut's working quite well for Matty MC at the moment. Now the question is Nassi and Djokovic going to want to interrupt this battle? They're more than halfway through this race now. On that medium tire, the question is, are they trying to go long to go onto the set of softs perhaps? Mainly because they don't want the other person doing that, and they not doing that. The question is, are they forcing themselves to go long simply because they don't want to give a single piece of advantage to the other guy? Nassi, is it coming in? No. Djokovic, he is neither coming in. Squid Shower going into the pit lane here, lap 19, 14 laps to go. Little bit of a free car train here. Matty, Jamar, and No Larks. Squidge is going to emerge out of the pit lane at the end of that train, with Hybrid just behind him. But Nassi and Djokovic, they're just trading sectors. Here we go then, Nassi pulls the trigger, Djokovic staying out for yet another lap. Now, Nassi surely thinks he can go on to a set of softs towards the end of the race. Djokovic then electing to stay out, doing something different than Nassi, maybe not feeling he's got the... Nassi held... I don't think he was held in a pit there, I think there was a little bit of a bug. Question is, does Nassi now come out in clean air? If he does, which is not a certainty, yes it is, now Nassi's surely going to be able to eke into the advantage that Djokovic has over him and make the most out of that soft tire. Had Nassi waited one more lap, Spenklos would have been ahead of him, which would have been disastrous for the Latvian. Now, Spenklos has nothing to lose by absolutely launching it on Nassi here during the early parts. The question is Djokovic now giving up track position to Spenklos as well by doing this? Because Nassi's now going to be going quite a bit faster than the Ferrari. Spenklos is actually all over the back of Nassi right now. That is the gain he made just by undercutting him a little bit. A couple of seconds worth of time there, just by pitting a lap or two earlier. So that is a good move by Spenklos. Djokovic now going into the pit lane. Where is he going to come out though? This is going to be close. Djokovic, can he make the overcut work? Doubtful. Is he going to be able to make the overcut work? No, but it is so close. It is so close to a massive collision in turn one, but it just gets undercut by both Nassi and Spenklos a little bit. That's not a poor attempt from Djokovic. Now on one lap fresher tyres, but he needs to catch up to the back of Spenklos ASAP before Nassi can shake Spenklos. So now this is an interesting one indeed, because now they have Spenklos as a block in the road for both of them. Spenklos, racing for the lead of the Grand Prix, is not going to give away anything for free at the moment. However, Djokovic will be screaming at that Williams to get out of the way rather soon. I think it's getting obvious at the moment. Djokovic needs something to happen in this Grand Prix for him to have a chance to win it. With that 3-second time penalty, and Nassi not having one, it's quite a big advantage. Djokovic, I don't think, is going to be able to eke out that advantage if nothing happens. Something like Spenclose, maybe throwing a clumsy one down the inside into turn 1. I'm sure Djokovic wouldn't mind that one bit. And this is a battle for the lead that we've now got. Nasi closing in on Samo and a Beatty up front as well. Worth pointing out. As that is a classical top 3 on track at the moment for you. It's 1 McLaren, 1 Williams, 1 Ferrari. It's absolutely beautiful to see. 3 really nice looking cars as well on this iteration of the game. As here we go, then now it is now one long DRS train to the line. The question is now, if Nasi loses a position to both Spenclose and Djokovic on one straight, then this could prove quite tricky. Pulls away a little bit from Spenclose in the penultimate corner, however. Djokovic now right on the back of Spenclose. He needs to clear that Williams, and quickly. And he's going to risk it all to do so, yes, and he's going to risk it all to catch up to the back of Nasi, and he does so. Djokovic with a brilliant move, 2 positions into one corner. He takes Spenclose and he takes Nasi. Now he's going to be backing Nasi into the back of that Williams, surely. Oh, but that is a brilliant move from Djokovic. That is one for the highlight reel. Matty, get that on TikTok immediately. Djokovic, by proxy, takes the lead of the Grand Prix with that move. Absolutely perfectly judged from Djokovic. Nasi, I don't think he saw the Ferrari coming up quite as quick as he did, or I think he would have covered that inside a little bit more aggressive. Forced Djokovic to go the long side round, or the long way round. But Djokovic now with a little bit of an advantage as well, because he can now realistically force Nasi into the back of the Williams. Question is now, does Djokovic just purely go for it, try to eke out that 3-second advantage? Where's Matty in this race? He's down in P8, behind Nolux, behind Jamar, behind Squidge and Spenclose. The gap is now 1 full second between Nasi and Djokovic. Spenclose though is losing a little bit of position on Nasi here. Which isn't ideal for Djokovic, it's ideal for Nasi. Squidge gets himself a 3-second time penalty. Which, to be fair, so far this evening, isn't quite as common as I thought it was going to be. We go on board with Jamers, hunting down Squidge for the time being for that position. Obviously, he'll have it on penalties, but it would be nice for him to get that on track as well. As for other battles at the moment, no Larks has gotten passed by Matty MC. He'll be trying to reclaim that position. As for Matty MC, J-Ma might be a bit of a tall order for him this race. So then here we go, Nasi's actually losing quite a bit of ground to Djokovic now. This is exactly the kind of progress that Djokovic needs. Spenclose, losing ground on Nasi, but still keeping within that 1 second gap. That might have cost him a little bit though. Almost half spin coming out of turn 4. But now this is getting interesting. Djokovic now is unleashing the true pace of that Ferrari. The gap is 2.1 seconds. 8 laps to go. Nasi now is a bit under pressure, because if Djokovic can put this pace on display, there's no telling what he's going to be able to do. Now, it's also a gap, or there's also a car in the road called Samo Bamu could play a bit of an effect here. If Djokovic can clear him rather quickly, because he is going to be able to clear him, and Samo maybe just holds up Nasi just that little bit, this could play into Djokovic's advantage, because he is catching Samo. at the best part of track. He's now going to have DRS to tow him along the straight, to tow him along the main straight as well. Crucial for Djokovic, he needs to clear Samo on this straight. Samo moving to the inside to let him go or defend. I believe he's letting the leader go there. That's actually really nice from Samo. The question is, why not fight just that little bit harder, hoping for something to happen behind him? Nassi's going to be fuming with Samo for that action, but he'll be hoping for the same treatment, if nothing else. Samo, keep this in mind, could be fighting for a Grand Prix win here, maybe a podium. He should have tried to keep Djokovic behind him. With that 3-second time penalty, a podium's not out of question. Samo let that position go way too easily. As now we've got confirmation, Djokovic now has the gap he needs to win this Grand Prix over Nassi. Samo's still within that gap, we'll see how that all ensues. Now this is going to be a question of judgment. How good is Nassi at catching Samo in the right places? He doesn't want to get stuck behind the Mercedes for a full lap. Oh, and this is going to be an interesting one indeed. Just check that Djokovic does indeed only have one time penalty, but I believe so. Indeed, only one time penalty. Samo on 22 lap all hard tyres, but he's driving admirably on those tyres for the time being. A little lock up there from Mercedes though, not going to help his efforts. Oh, and Matty now with a 3-second time penalty for track limit warnings, which isn't going to make his evening any better whatsoever. He is currently down in P7, might be where he finishes. Even lower perhaps due to that penalty now, because Noah Larks does not have one. And Nassi now is starting to make the necessary gains on Samo to get by him on the main straight. Might be perfectly judged this from Nassi 31, penultimate corner then. But the gap is now well and truly over 3 seconds. 6 laps to go. Now the question is, Samo, does he put up a defense on Nassi 31? Red lights flashing. Can't really put up a defense. Nassi's using everything he can to force his way past the Mercedes. Now the question is, how quickly is Samo gonna sink on that hard tyre that is also worn? It's gonna be an interesting end to the race. Spenclose now catching. The question is Squidge going to be able to catch him? 3.4 seconds is the gap up front. It's going to be 4 attempts at the end of the race in Djokovic's advantage. He's doing what he needs to at the moment. He's unleashed the power of that Ferrari in this last stint. And at the moment is really paying dividends. At the moment, winning this Grand Prix, taking his 4th checkered flag in a row, which would be a mighty achievement for Djokovic, who had a poor start to the season, but with this result placed himself well and truly in championship contention. And maybe, just maybe, ahead of Matty in the Drivers' Championship as well, I'm not quite certain. Spenclose now on the back of Samo. Is he going to give this one up easily? No, he's not. 4 laps to go. The question is it just a little bit too late for Samo now to do anything about Spenclose for his first podium in an NEF1? Spenclose on relatively fresh softs, I think is just going to have this one. Samo pulls to the inside. Can't really defend that one. Spenclose moves up into P3, and now Squidge is going to be the main objective to hold behind him. About a second per lap's worth of an advantage, I reckon, on that now slightly worn soft tyre. No, Lars has been overtaken by a BT. Couple of split strategies here. Actually really interesting what Djokovic and Nasi did. Actually waiting out that medium tire to be able to go into the softs at the end. Wasn't really expecting that to work, but now 4 laps to go in this Grand Prix, seemingly working actually really nicely. 2.3 seconds now the gap from Samo to Squidge. It's going to be hard for Samo to keep on the P4 as well. It is going to be a top 5, I dare say. Actually, it might be a top 4 because it's freezing a time penalty for Squidge, so Samo might not be as under pressure as originally appeared to. I dare say, Jamar is not going to be able to catch it back in the Mercedes this race. So it is going to be an NEF1 best for Samo, Bama 25. Impressive drive if that is the case. Absolutely brilliant stint, brilliant strategy. Nothing really going on though right now. No real battles ensuing. A-Beat is chasing down Matty, both with time penalties as well. Remember, this is for position. So we're nearing the end of lap 30 out of 33. At the moment, this is on track to be one of the shortest NEF1 events in a long time. Here we go then, lap 31 out of 33. We have 3 laps remaining. Djokovic currently in control. Nasi's chasing 8 tenths behind what it needs to be in order to win this Grand Prix. ABT 4 tenths behind Matty MC. Is going to be able to make anything work on this straight? A day has come from bad to worse for Matty. Now goes to even worse because ABT's just gone past his admin colleague. Matty has to settle for P8 right now, which is a disastrous result for the AlphaTauri. Djokovic expands his lead further on Nasi 31. Squidge then now, he's getting closer to Samo. Barmo is 2 laps in order to now create a 3-second advantage. So, getting very close to each other on the exit there. That's maybe a little bit of a track extension from Squidge. Might actually be looked at after the race, I'm not quite sure. But nothing unfair for the time being, just losing the rear end a little bit though. And that might give Samo an opportunity to have a look. No, but 1.5 laps to go basically. Now Squidge needs to create a 3-second advantage. Either way, it's going to be a top 5 for Samo Bamo in a brilliantly driven Grand Prix here from the Mercedes drivers. An absolutely splendid race. Matty's been able to get past a BT once again. Lap and a half remaining. Djokovic now nearing the start-finish straight. And at the moment, 4 seconds worth of an advantage of an asset. I didn't think he was going to be able to pull that out on pure pace. He has been able to for the time being. And that is an impressive drive from Djokovic to all of a sudden, when that second stint emerged, be able to produce a double overtake on Nasi and Spenklos. That is the race-winning overtake, and that is the best overtake we've seen over the course of this evening. Djokovic, after that, was able to pull away from Nasi in a way that I really did not think he would be able to. But he's handled himself beautifully in this race, has Djokovic. Nasi has been rapid, just not quite having the answer for the raw speed put on display from Djokovic for the time being, who at the moment is storming for his 4th victory in a row, 2nd Grand Prix victory in a row, but at the moment it is incredibly hard to best Djokovic. Let's see, next week we're heading into France, see if fortunes change, but right now it is going to be Ferrari on top once again, and Djokovic is taking a massive step further in the Drivers' Championship. Nasi defends his lead for the time being. Matty having an off weekend, and that is going to cost him in the run of things, and that is going to cost him dearly. But right now, it is Djokovic who is going to be crossing the line at the end of 33 intensive laps. It has been a race-long battle with him, with Nasi 31, but Djokovic emerging victorious, and he takes the checkered flag here in Portugal for his 2nd straight win. Nasi does not quite have an answer for him on this evening, finishing 1.4 seconds behind, but that is a valiant effort from Nasi 31. Spenklos finishes P3 with a season best result for Samo Baumo, 25 of P4. Hats off, that's an absolutely brilliant drive and a brilliant strategy. Samo Baumo, welcome to NEF1, first proper result in the league. Squidge 2017 once again showing his quality in P5, with Jamer in P6, Matty having an off day in P7, and the run ends at 5 consecutive podiums. P8 for No Larks, followed by P9 for ABT, taking a couple of well-earned points there, and Hybrid continuing his good run of form this season, taking a point in P10. P11 ended up being Wigan, just shy of the points there in the end, followed by Iwatts and Padarang. Not quite good enough on this evening to score those first points, those second points of the season actually. It did score a couple in the sprint. Trifix in P14, Darren in P15, and JV8 finishing this race in 16th. No retirements throughout this Portuguese Grand Prix, which is what we want to see, but Djokovic just proving a bit too much for the rest of the opposition today. As there we go, the champagne is sprayed to the sound of nothing actually, because I think I've muted my music for some reason. But that is a brilliant win for Djokovic. P2 for Nasi to defend the championship lead, and a podium for Spenklos, which is well earned there. But there we can see the total summary of this weekend. Djokovic takes top honours on 34 points, taking a maximum point haul with fastest lap during the Grand Prix as well. Nasi on 25 points, with Samo Baumo in P3 over the course of the weekend actually on 16 points. Good points haul for Mercedes. Followed by P4 Spenklos, P5 is Jamer. Matty with a massive loss in the championship, 11 points to Nasi's 25 and Djokovic's 34. As for the Grand Prix event, there is your results, and quite a convincing fastest lap for Djokovic. Actually, Padarang got quite close to it in the end, but not quite close enough. Now then, that is the Portuguese Grand Prix over and done with. Next week, we're heading to Le Castellier, maybe for the last time ever in NEF1. We don't know if it's going to be on... We don't know if it's going to be on next year's game, so we'll enjoy it whilst we can. La Castellier in France usually produces a really good race here in NEF1. We're hoping it'll do the same this time out. Until then, we'll be back in exactly 1 week's time for more racing action here in NEF1. Once again, congratulations to Djokovic. Nasi giving us a hell of a fight to watch over the course of the evening. Samo Baumo with his first really good result in NEF1. Matty with a bit of an off day. We'll see how that affects the championship next week out when NEF1 returns.